in terms of the diversity of the crew and cast and crew, like for a lot of people, Laura came on set and said it was amazing. The most for me and our crews, that's not amazing. It's normal. That's mainly, maybe we've always had to be that way because the films I made were kind of lower budget, and so we couldn't get certain people. So we worked with people that we could get in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's why we always were diverse, because maybe there were people that weren't getting the bigger jobs and worked with us. But our sets, have always been like that. Bar one we did in Scotland, where it was nigh on impossible to find diverse people at the time. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. But we've always tried. I mean, it makes sense. Like I'm quotation marks diverse, so why would I want a crew that doesn't represent me, cast and crew that doesn't represent me? And if you look at my films, you look at Kidulthood, Adulthood, Brotherhood, 4321, Fast, you just suddenly go, let's look at the posters of those movies, and they're mixed posters, white, black, girls, boys, like.
Welcome to the Earth Locker with Tom,
Rob,
and Byron,
where we unlock Earth's best kept secrets and make you feel a little bit better on a daily basis.
Can you laugh about death from 100 years ago, people dying? It's like,
I mean,
at the end of the day,
I don't feel guilty about laughing about the gladiators, do you? I mean,
why happened to gladiators?
The Romans and the gladiators in the ring.
Yeah, they
I thought you were talking about the John Fashanu show.
What's that?
The ITV show in the 90s.
Where the guys go through obstacle courses.
Gladiators!
Yeah. I was like, what happened to those guys?
Well, I know Shadow got done for drugs, but I mean, I don't really feel about it.
Yeah. Shadow was knocking out speed to all the other gladiators before every episode.
Warrior. I'm a bit of that. Hunters like that. It's not for me.
I met someone once whose father was a gladiator and mother was an exotic dancer. So that's some pretty good genetics.
What, a gladiator on the show? On the TV show?
Yeah, and his mum was a stripper.
Wow.
Yeah.
What bringing that one.
Great genes.
Yeah. Amazing genes.
Virile and graceful.
Do you know which gladiator it was? Which gladiator was it? Do you know?
I don't know, I can't remember.
Oh man, I was such a big fan.
Yeah.
If anybody knows, let us know. We're gonna get him on the podcast.
I was obsessed with.
Yeah.
I used to love it.
Who can we get? Jet. We'll get Jet.
Oh god, let's get Jet on.
Yeah. They were action figures come to life. It was sort of the format of Power Rangers, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, they characterized it so well because that's what I forget his second name, Nigel. The guy who started
Farage.
Nigel Farage. He started.
He was a great gladiator.
There was, the first wave of like pop stars. Do you remember pop stars where Hearsay would come out and then they did the same thing with Make the Band in America and all that? It was the producer that started that, and I think he did So You Think You Can Dance in America as well. He's a big time producer, British producer, but he did Gladiators, and one of the things he did is he said it's all about the theatre. It's like what WWE do so well. It's like creating that soap opera
WrestleMania,
effect.
Man. Hulk Hogan.
Oh my God.
He was the centre of that. That became, it went from sort of provincial rings to as popular as like sold out concert arenas.
Yeah.
Like Vince McMahon, in fairness to him and those dudes,
Vince McMahon is brilliant because he's an amazing businessman, but he's also hilariously dramatic with his theatricals in the shows. Like, he's unbelievable. If you look at some of the memes of Vince McMahon, like the faces he pulls, it's the best overacting since Nicolas Cage.
Because he became part of the show, didn't he? He was like one of the characters in the whole WrestleMania.
Yeah, and his son, Shane McMahon, and his daughter, who married Triple H.
No way.
Yeah, in fact, Noel loves WWE. Our guest today, Noel Clarke. Yeah, he is obsessed with WWE.
There's a cool Vice documentary series that's come out called The Darker Side of the Ring. Oh, yeah. And my mate Screaming Joe Sangre, who did that whale. You can't see the whale on the... Yeah! Nice one!
Good work, Chris.
I have the power!
There you go.
But anyway,
I saw this on our Instagram Live and was like, wow, what's going on with that picture of the whale?
I know. He's supposed to be swimming vertically, but just to annoy the artist, I hung it horizontally.
Which I'm sure annoys the living hell out of him.
It does irritate.
It's very reminiscent of Blackfish, that.
Also, yeah, it is. It's like negative Blackfish.
Hey, you mentioned somebody. No. Who's on today's podcast?
Noel Clarke, who is a very good friend of mine and Rob Sheehan's. We both worked with him.
And a beefcake from the series Bulletproof.
He is.
We were just reading about him and Ashley, the star Ashley Walters, doing like 6 months of proper grueling physical prep.
Yeah, and those boys got shredded for it.
And it was funny because they were talking about the inspiration for that show being Bad Boys, but they're like in mad shape compared to Bad Boys. They're like, the Bad Boys have like kind of let themselves kind of drift.
It's like Mark Lawrence 2.0.
Yeah.
Wait, which one of them would be the equivalent of Martin Lawrence, and which one would be?
I think
Smith?
Noel is Martin Lawrence and Ashley is Will Smith.
Yeah, tricky because they're not as tall. So they're both the same sort of height. Although Ashley is, I think, slightly shorter than Noel.
Yeah. I've worked with both of them. On different things.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. Me and Ashley Walters did a film which ended up being called Demons Never Die, but started out being called Suicide Kids, which was a title I preferred, to be honest. Yeah. But it
my
was
wife
kind
Laura's
of a
worked with
flick.
both of them as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she worked with Ashley on his directorial debut for a thing called The Charlatans, and then she's just recently been on this season of Bulletproof as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I worked with Noel on a sci-fi movie called Mute, which was the sequel. Yeah. It was the kind of belated sequel to that brilliant sci-fi sleeper Moon with Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Where he's the clone on the moon and then he finds another clone version of himself. Oh my God! There's handsome Noel Clarke.
We've just been joined by our man. Can you hear us, buddy?
Hi, guys.
Oh, you might be on mute.
Are you on mute? Ironically.
We're leaving all this in. Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah. We leave in technical difficulties. That's part of our podcast.
It's all part of it every week.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you just yet. Storm, if you can assist the poor man.
Yeah, maybe you might. This is
I'm not on mute.
Whenever I join a Zoom call, I'm always on mute. I'm always mute.
Yeah, you got it.
No, I'm not on mute.
Nope.
No?
Still no.
Okay, we'll do Noel's talking.
We'll speak for Noel.
I think what Noel said is that he wants to recreate Gladiators.
Yeah.
And play Jet.
I'm 100% not on mute.
We can hear you. We have you in stereo now, Noel.
Oh, great.
There you go.
So where are you, man?
I'm in my kitchen.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's your kitchen. I've always wondered where that brick wall is when I talk to you.
Yeah. It's quite.
I'm in the kitchen. Yeah.
It just reminds me of the Career Chronicles you do on Instagram now. That
100%. It's the best spot because I get good light because there's a glass.
You have the skylights, which somebody broke once.
It's still broken. Oh,
is it?
Son of a gun.
Yeah. I've not yet fixed it yet.
How do you? How did it get broke? Did something smash into?
There's builders next door, and I guess one of them was drilling and flicked his drill, and the drill bit came out the window and landed on my glass, and like a bullet just
oh my
ping.
God. Is the drill bit still in the glass? It's just so like
yeah, it is.
The guilty culprit.
Because it's double, right? So it broke one and then kind of slid in between, so it's still there.
Right. So it's kind of frosted the glass.
Well, yeah, the top layer is cracked, like proper, like shattered. Then there's a little drill bit, and then there's,
Oh wow!
So no, we were just talking about Bulletproof there, and how me and Rob know you and stuff, and we were trying to figure out because we always say about it being like the British Bad Boys, right?
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out which one of you between you and Ashley is Will Smith, and which one of you is Mark Lawrence. I said you be Will Smith because you're a little bit taller.
Yeah. I'm a bit taller than Ashley, and I think my character's the kind of wilder one. So it's interesting because I think we both have traits of both.
Yeah.
Like my character's hates driving, and Martin's scared of a lot of stuff in Bad Boys.
Martin Lawrence. I've been calling him Mark Lawrence. That's all right. Martin Lawrence. My bad.
Unbelievable.
Shocker. I'm so racist. That's like.
So I would probably be the Will Smith of it.
These guys got in pretty. You went through a pretty grueling, like exercise and food regime. What was the crack with the food change? I've gone through periods of training for jobs, but it's the food part of it that I struggle with, being regimented, being
Yeah, me too.
Rhythmic with it.
what kicked it off was boobs, basically.
Great motivator for any man.
I had boobs, and or at least what I would refer to lovingly to Tom as titties. I had titties.
Yeah, that was my biggest memory of Noel when we first met. Was nice. It's just the titties, man. I just got to get rid of the titties.
and to be honest, and to be honest, like they weren't like moobs or anything like that. It just was like the end of them just sat in a way that I didn't like.
Yeah,
that I felt like I couldn't wear t-shirts properly and stuff like that. So I just thought, and I could still see my abs, but what I didn't realize is that there was like 4 pizza slices above my abs. And it's the food, man. It's knowing the calories, knowing what you're taking in, knowing what you're burning, and the types of stuff that I was eating, because I would eat healthy most of the day, in fact, all day, and then maybe have one unhealthy meal, like maybe in the evening or whatever, and think, well, I've eaten healthy all day. It's okay. Not realizing that I was suddenly putting like 4,000 calories in at 10 o'clock at night, and
yeah.
So
just not realizing that stuff,
Did you notice your own transformation? That was another thing you're saying. You're saying like, I didn't notice 4 pizza slices on top of my abs. I think that is a thing with human beings where you can undergo a subtle change, be it weight on or weight off, and not actually notice. Did you experience that with the weight off? Did not
notice with the weight going on.
Right.
With the weight going on, did not notice. I'll be looking at myself like, man, I can't understand why I didn't get this role, or I can't understand why these jeans are not fitting anymore, man. These damn manufacturers, they probably shrunk or whatever like that.
Yeah.
I can't understand why they're asking me to play Santa Claus in my local supermarket.
I wasn't getting it. Now, when I look at pictures of like 3 years ago, I'm like, what the actual,
Yeah, man.
I'm just like, what? I look like the Penguin from Batman Returns.
It's that thing. It's that
Danny
thing.
DeVito.
When you.
Danny DeVito.
DeVito.
I think as actors, we're just more predisposed to this because we catch ourselves in the as a conceptual thing out in the world. Sometimes I watched a thing that I did last year. It was a Christmas special for this TV show, Irish TV show called The Young Offenders. And I hadn't slept the night before. It was the big sort of scene, and I'd had food poisoning. Because like I get like really hungry at about 10, 11 o'clock in the fucking nighttime, and I got a Chinese takeaway in Cork City. We won't name and shame the Chinese takeaway because I can't remember the name.
There can't be that many. You just narrow it down. Just don't go to any of them. You'll be fine.
Yeah. But I was just in bits for the whole night and then had to go in. So I was slightly, but I just there's one lack of night's sleep and I looked old. I was like, I just caught myself. Sort of, you suddenly surprised unpleasantly by your own sort of autonomous reflection out in the world. And I'd love to get someone on talking about self-perception and the distortion of that self-perception, which leads to dysmorphia and things like that, body dysmorphia, because that's interesting as well. Like,
that's the thing, though. Because sometimes I find whenever I've got to go through a transformation for a role, or like I always see the image of what I want to be, and. Or certainly feel how I want to feel and think that's when I feel good, or that's when I think that role is going to sit right. I need to look like that. Yeah. And it's an image of me, looking like that in my head. Because you had such an amazing transformation. When you did the magazine shoot stuff, it's all over on your Instagram. I was like, oh shit, like he fully went for it. Did you see that image at the end of like the goal?
Yeah, well, I mean, not that image. I definitely saw an 8 image. I didn't know what that image was going to be, but I was like, man, you know me pretty well. I was like, I said I'm going to do this thing. I have to do it. I have to do it. I have to keep pushing. And probably at every step of the way, I was not satisfied. Even at the end, I wasn't satisfied.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Or, I don't genetically have, like, if I was a woman, I'd have double A's. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't have big pecs, whereas Ashley's only got a sneeze and his pecs grow.
Like, Ashley, that's an interesting, because Ashley, does he train pretty hard? Because he's like, he always looks like he's in pretty good nick.
Yeah, he trained. I mean, he did a lot as well. He lost quite a few stone as well. I think I ended up losing 3. He lost quite a few as well, like 2 or 3 or whatever. But his genetics just sit in a way that if he was a woman, he'd have double D's. Whereas if I was a woman, I'd have an A cup. You know what I mean? So even now, I keep going like, come on, where's my chest? My chest doesn't pop out how I want, or my arms aren't as big as I want, or my legs. I've got a nice bum, but I don't want to lose I don't want to, I want to trim my legs down at the thighs, but I don't want to lose my butt. You know what I mean?
I can vouch for Noel's butt. He's got a very pert butt. Yeah, he's got cracking glutes. Yeah.
We were getting funky in a nightclub in Berlin, weren't we? It was a pretend nightclub.
Yeah. But, that was a good fun job.
I mean, I'm sure I checked your arse out, but I can't remember its purpose.
Probably not as much as me.
Didn't burn itself into your mind. Hey, no, what going back to obviously you had to work out and lift weights and stuff like that. What did you exactly eat to...
Hold on one second. Shush, children. Bro.
That's fine, man.
Does that work?
Corona, man. Homeschooling, man.
Homeschooling. Yeah, man. I know that one.
Yeah. Sorry, my man. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. So what exactly did you eat? It sounds like you were calorie counting, and how did your diet change to get healthy as opposed to like what were you used to growing up? What did you eat growing up as a kid? Is that kind of where you stem eating indulgent meals at night?
Sure. As growing up as a kid, I was always a really slim kid. Like I was always really slim.
I've seen pictures of you when you were younger and you were shredded.
Yeah, shredded. Up until like 26, I was probably like only 9.5 stone, had abs for day, like 8 pack. I was one of those 8-pack guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? And but then after around mid-20s, it's just that sort of, I don't want to say student lifestyle, but that sort of adult lifestyle where you're working, you're doing stuff. I started acting, you eat the catering on set, you come home, you eat, you go out with your friends on the weekend, you go cinema, you have ice cream, you have pizza.
You eat as a function, just to keep you moving, keep you ticking,
Do you know what I mean? And then just thoroughly enjoyed stuff and didn't realize. And then when it really piled on was in 2000, because even when I did Adulthood in 07-08, I was still really slim. What it was even 451. It was after, just when I was doing Stories 24, 2012. The next movie I was supposed to do was going to be a cage fighting movie that I had co-written with some other guys. And Michael Bisping, who's a friend of mine, was going to play the villain. Now, at his fighting weight, he's 185 pounds. When he used to fight, he's retired now. But at his fighting weight, he was 185. And he probably walked around generally at 220. So the deal was that for the film, he would get to his fighting weight, and I would go up from my 140 or my 130 something, my 9.5 stone, my 10 stone to 185, or at least to 180, so that we looked.
Yeah, you're in the same weight class.
40 pound.
Yeah. So I went from 9 to 12 stone.
Oh wow.
To 12 stone. And I did that, by training and eating and stuff like that. And
were you doing that as clean as possible, or were you just like piling on burgers and just doing anything to get the weight on?
I tried to do it. It was as clean as possible.
Yeah.
It was as clean as possible.
It's hard to get the calories in doing it clean. I've tried that.
And it was a nightmare. I would feel sick. I couldn't it was a nightmare eating. And I did that. And then the film didn't happen. And then there I was sitting at sort of this weight, which I was quite happy with because I looked good. And then over time, I put on another stone, so like up to 13, that just wasn't muscle, that just was over that. So when the beginning of last year started, when we started Bulletproof season 2, shooting Bulletproof season 2, which is probably about a year ago now, I got on the scales when we were in Amsterdam, and I was like 13.1. And I was just like, how am I 13.1, man? Like, I remember when I was 9. And that was when I was like, nah, I need to do something about this. I need to do it. You know what I mean? And then poured a glass of milk from my left tit, and then
What about just put your A cup to one side. We had a lovely fella working with us on the second series of Umbrella called Evan, who was predominantly driving you to work in the morning, wasn't he? Evan, who was, he was at the start of the job. It's fair to say he was fairly overweight.
Yeah.
He was. What was he, about 5'7", 5'8", and he was maybe 250 or something.
Yeah,
like
wow. Pardon the pounds for sure. Yeah,
and then he just started fasting. Like he just went into fast mode and he didn't eat for how long?
For religious reasons, or just because?
Well, the thing is with Evan is this is what was so bizarre about Evan, right? Is that he knew so much about the body. I could have conversations with him where he'd know things about the way his biology worked and way, things that I talk about with science and stuff. He knew about it like that. And I was like, Evan, this is weird. I was like, you know all these things about the body, and you know what's bad for you, you know what's good for you,
but yet
you don't practice it. And he was like, he goes, it's the sugar, man. I'm addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
I can't relate at all.
And also, people, there was a nice line in something where people don't commit, they don't die by suicide, most people, but they do self-destruct.
Yeah.
It's absolutely quintessential to our nature,
Yeah.
And I think that, we talk about health and food and diet a lot on this, but I think it's a pertinent thing to bring up, that it's that sort of bridge between, switching to a healthy diet and not. There is a psychological blockage.
There is, and you know what I think one of the biggest drivers, you've got leverage, right? So that the reason that you want to do it is like Noel, you were like, screw this, I want to look like that, I don't want to look like this. That the leverage is what brings you there. And then the other one is consequence, because people would have these huge health turnarounds because the other consequence is that you're going to die. An early death. So, or like you might miss your kid's wedding or something because of it. So having 100%. Huge consequence is another driving force that will make people make that change. If there's no consequence or leverage, people just kind of mosey on. They just keep going.
I didn't realize, I really didn't realize how bad I looked. Do you know what I mean?
But I was working with you just before.
I was like, what's his name? Johnny Bravo. I'd be in the mirror like, hey, I'm still, hey, I look okay. But when I look at the before, after, and the before picture and the after picture, I'm like, my God. Like,
well, you know what I noticed, Noel, was because you obviously posted it on Instagram, and I noticed it because I've been working with you for a long time before that, and we've been hanging out a lot. So I kind of knew you as that image of, what you look like. And you look great already. So in your head, you were thinking, oh no, on this and that. But I was always like, yeah, it looks great. But what I noticed, especially when you were filming Bulletproof, I noticed the change on your Instagram, and I was like, oh my God, look at his jawline. It started to just be properly squared off. And I remember like Laura sending me photos from on set when you had your like crudité plate of like vegetables it was having snacking.
Oh, there's just nothing more.
Tom would be so proud, because obviously working with you and Sam on the movie, I'm not even sure if we're allowed to mention the name, because I don't know what the deal is with that. But working with you on the movie,
because it's been announced.
Has it?
I think so.
Great.
What's the title?
SAS Red Notice. It's called
SAS Red Notice. Yeah. Awesome. Working with you on that. Bear in mind, everyone. Tom said it first. Working with you on that movie, and seeing how you guys trained and all that kind of stuff really was like, oh. Okay.
And how we ate as well. Like, well, not so much Sam, but I guess
and how you ate as well was like, okay, I need to up my game.
Also the thing is as well, what's interesting to talk about as well is, my passion is to make what people consider like healthy food taste amazing, like taste better than food that tastes like crap.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what, like, Noel came around to my apartment like most mornings for breakfast, didn't you?
I was like Kramer in Seinfeld.
He just turned up. I gave him his key.
Opening the fridge.
He had his own key.
Just open the door like, yo.
For breakfast.
I got the sweet potato on, I got the eggs on. But like for me, I have a massive passion for like cooking for people.
He'd be like, do you want breakfast? And I'd be on the couch with my feet up like, well, if it's no trouble, bro. I don't.
He's just reading the paper.
He's putting the coffee on.
Yeah. But that's what I noticed, a sort of a shift in when we went out for meals and stuff, as the more we ate together, that you would sort of make a certain choice.
Yeah.
And I was like,
100%.
He gets it.
Anthony Hopkins, famously, he was an alcoholic when he was younger, and he had a sort of a, that thing about self-perception. He perceived himself as a sort of a wild Celt, of the Richard Burton, Oliver Reed, Peter O'Toole, Richard Harris, where there was this thing of, it was expected of actors to be reckless with their health, reckless socially, reckless this, and it was encouraged. That people loved the stories, the anecdotes. But Anthony Hopkins said he got to a point where he realized, I was just miserable and drinking and smoking way
and
too
dying
much. And
dying.
And it just led him to a place of misery. And it's funny, as an actor, like I read that anecdote book Hellraisers, which I think on the truth spectrum, sort of drifts very, in terms of anecdotes about Peter O'Toole, Oliver Reed, Richard Harris, and Richard Burton during the 1960s and it tempts you, You hear all these legendary stories of mad havoc. Richard Harris fighting traffic drunk in the middle of the street in London. Just madness, and you think, oh well, I should be trying to be more mad. I should be trying to follow in that lineage. I should,
I think the world's changed a little bit. I don't think it would be looked upon so happily if one of us did it.
And that's probably a good thing. And I love spontaneity, and I think self-destruction has a great place in creativity. Just look at Charles Bukowski. You know what I mean? Just look for Herman Melville. But there's, but as you said, you get to like. Peter O'Toole was 40. His large intestine had quit him. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Richard Harris was touring Camelot because Richard Burton's spine had sort of seized up in his dressing room on Broadway, right? It was this big packed out show, an hour before a show, and they they cancelled the show and called Richard Harris, and they're like, could you step in, boy, and do the role? And they took Richard Burton to the hospital for a surgery. And his spine had crystallized alcohol all over it, all up his spine. He was in bits. Wow. They were just, incredibly good at drinking.
That's crazy.
I was thinking about your guys' Insta Live when you're talking about Laura's comment of working on Noel's show and how it was so diverse. And then thinking about James Cameron and how his last production of Avatar was vegetarian or vegan and no plastic, and just forced everybody on set to come to a higher standard as opposed to the I'm an artist and you can just be a bad boy as much as you want.
Yeah.
Interestingly, so why do you feel so strongly about, do you actually impose now better health and better food options on your set? Do you try to make sure it's more diverse by nature because you're conscious of that, or?
Yeah, 100%. So in terms of the food, 100% we try. The difficulty here is there aren't a lot of companies that really do those sorts of options. So you have to kind of tell the caterers.
You got to pay for it if they don't.
You got to pay for it, and then that starts to impact budgets. And people currently, the UK mindset isn't yet of like, well, I want to spend this amount on catering. They don't really. They're just like, we want that per head, and that's what we want. And then they go, but we want it healthy. And then the caterers go, well, to be healthy, it actually costs this per head. And they're like, no, just
just biscuits and tea.
That's still the difficulty. So, but we definitely do try with food and make sure there are, and I think both the girls on Bulletproof are vegan in the main team. Yeah, Olivia Chenery and Lucy Shorthouse. And so we tried to make sure they were catered to. I don't feel like we did a good enough job personally, not us, but the caterers we had, because it's still over here. It's still a very emerging thing.
It is,
and caterers still have to get used to it. In terms of the diversity of the crew and cast and crew, like for a lot of people, Laura came on set and said it was amazing. The most for me and our crews, that's not amazing. It's normal. That's not a knock on anyone seeing that. It's just that's maybe we've always had to be that way because the films I made were kind of lower budget, and so we couldn't get certain people, so we worked with people that we could get in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's why we always were diverse, because maybe there were people that weren't getting the bigger jobs and worked with us. But our sets, have always been like that, bar one we did in Scotland, where it was nigh on impossible to find diverse people at the time, which was about 4 or 5 years ago. But we've always tried. I mean, it makes sense. Like I'm quotation marks diverse, so why would I want a crew that doesn't represent me, cast and crew that doesn't represent me? And if you look at my films, you look at Kidulthood, Adulthood, Brotherhood, 4, 3, 2, 1, Fast, you just suddenly go, let's look at the posters of those movies, and they're mixed posters, white, black, girls, boys. Like,
tell us about that. Oh, sorry, Noel. Sorry,
that's all right, bro.
Slight delay here, but the Fisherman's Friend poster was an interesting bone of contention. Strange, because you're well known, well beloved actor, and your name was on the poster.
And you're a selling factor for that movie.
Your name was on the poster, and it just seemed like
very odd.
It did seem really, really odd, especially through the kind of prism of where we are culturally at the moment.
Well, also, like you say, to have his name on it, as like a key name, isn't like, oh, I know that name, but the face isn't on there. It's like it seems a bit too obvious.
I mean, exactly. I mean, it was just it's an odd decision, and I think, you know.
Why do you think it happened, Noel? Why do you think that? Why, like?
Well, as a businessman, I know why it happens because I'm a producer and I've produced things, and you when you make your movie, you want to sell it, and most films, unless they're absolutely out and out for everyone, which is rare, most films have a target audience,
right?
And so, you know, I've never sat there and said anybody in that movie. The cast that didn't speak out or the producer, I've never said anyone did it on purpose, but it's an unconscious thing, because you go, right, how do we market this movie? We market it to this audience primarily are from these places, and and those places maybe are not represented much by diversity, so actually we think it will sell better if it looked like X.
Right.
So it wasn't about we're going to exclude him. It's like, we think the movie will sell best if it looks like this. But not actually thinking that number one, what they were doing, or number two, that they should try and change things, or number three, what sort of world are we living in that if they put me in that poster, the film's suddenly going to do
worse.
My
10-year-old, because homeschooling him as well, and I'm always giving him horrible extra work. Day before yesterday, I told him, can you please go online, and I want you to research and tell me what institutional racism is. And so he came back yesterday and he just gave me institutional racism. It's in the government. It's in this. It's in that. Well, you told me where it is, but you didn't tell me what it is. So today he's back on it.
Good on you,
and hopefully at the end. But that's exactly what it is. It's institutional racism. 100%. No one's making a decision about it. They think this is what's best for the company. And just like the film sets, you know, feeding people better, having more diversity, you actually have to make a conscious effort to fight
100%.
The norm.
Yeah.
You know? The other question you have to ask is, the other question you have to ask is this, and this makes it really very simple, is if you take that same poster, and I'm not black, I'm white, and I'm an Olivier winner, I'm a BAFTA winner, I've been in number one movies, I've been in number one films, I've been in American movies, I'm in the number one show at the moment. How does that white person not end up on the poster?
It would never have happened. They would be on 100%.
Wouldn't happen.
100%.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen. So there you go. You take the color out of it, and you go, if you had that actor who was white, how would they not be on there? It would never have happened. So then immediately when you pull it back, you go, well, there's only one reason.
And we want to market to racists. We found our core audience.
Yeah,
it's
racist.
Okay, so we're being harsh, because I actually...
No, that wasn't a conscious decision on anyone's part, I'm sure.
It's funny, but the problem is not that no one saw it as a problem. None of them are in there going, we want to do this. It's like, okay, this is what it looks like best for the market. This is what it looks like best to sell. But the problem is that nobody saw it as a problem.
Is it that the poster is trying to offer a mirror to local rural communities? Is that the sort of...
100%. This is what we recognize.
Yeah.
That looks fun. Oh, that looks great. But maybe that city boy that we've seen before or know of, you know.
Yeah.
Because some people made excuses. Well, you were the record exec. It's like, okay, well, when you look at a poster before you see a movie, would you go, oh, look at this great poster. Hold on. There's a record exec on there. This poster does not work for me. Like, that's not going to happen. Posters don't have to represent the film accurately, you know. So
no, it doesn't.
I think, but you know, I've had conversations with them in the last week, because obviously I think everyone was a bit burned the first week, but people have reached out, and I've had some discussions with the producers and some of the cast that bothered to reach out. So I think people are starting to understand. But bear in mind, not all of them have.
Yeah.
The producers all have, but not all the cast.
You were the record exec on the film, as in you provided music, was it?
Oh no, that's his character.
No,
oh right.
No, I was playing the record exec that tricks Danny into signing them.
Oh right.
Can you imagine that as well?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at the poster, and it's absolutely literally everybody in the film is on the poster except you.
Yeah, everybody named is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his name is on the poster.
And you know, and then I'm sorry I have to do this just because it's what's going on right now. You know, you look at George Floyd, And that's exactly it. You know, people talk about the racist police and stuff like that. And like, I don't really care if the police officer was racist or not. I'm sure he was. I don't know. But that's not really what the issue was. The issue was that there was all these people around him that didn't stop him, you know? And that's the institutional mindset, that somehow it's okay, you know?
Well, the people that tried as well, he pulled pepper spray. Like, I think people were scared too, you know, some people, because there were people of color there that tried, that stepped forward, and then this guy pulls out pepper spray.
Well, I'm talking particularly about the officers with him, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know, because once again, these guys might or might not think they're actually racist, but they live in a complete divide of us against them. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And also, I think one of the officers was mixed race, right? He was of color, and then there was an Asian American.
Well, that's something we talk about. I grew up with that thin blue line concept. That thin blue line where people part of an institution, no matter what their race, they uphold that we are cops against them. Yeah. And them, who we are going to treat poorly, are people that we perceive as criminal, and they're going to be people of color.
You know? I met the loveliest man in Chicago. Very, very sweet, lovely man, and his daughter is black. She's of color, and you know, he talks about the Chicago police in that way, and how heartbreakingly awful they've been to his daughter over the years. Wow. You know, that thing where she's walking along in a neighborhood, and they come up and they're interrogating her and essentially profiling, doing all that stuff. And he said the Chicago police are, you know, as you said, it beyond color of skin of police officers, it is an incredibly us against them vibe. Yeah. Which, you know, I think definitely that policy nationwide in the US exacerbates you know, it pours gunpowder on the relationship too. You know?
What was almost as bad for me was Amy Cooper.
Yeah, I watched that after you told me about it. I hadn't seen the video. I watched it. The Amy Cooper video of her in Central Park.
Yeah, the woman that was running her dog through the bird watching thing.
Oh yes.
Tell us, Noel. I don't know about this now.
So there's a woman who was running her dog through the bird watching area of Central Park or whatever, and dogs are supposed to be on a lead. And this man approaches her and tells her to not do that. And she starts like, you can't tell me what to do. And he's a black guy. You can't tell me what to do. And they get into this argument. He starts filming. She's shouting at him and ranting at him, this, that, and the other. And he's like, you know, your dog needs to be on a lead. And she says, get away from me, or I'm going to call the cops and I'm going to tell them that a black African-American man is threatening my life. And she says that. I'm like, what? Wow. She says that. Then she literally calls the police. But when she calls the police, she puts on this voice. She says the same thing. She's like, oh, I'm in Central Park and I'm black everywhere. She puts on this voice. Wow. Bro, that like
she's on a camera.
It's really something. Yeah, you gotta watch.
She puts on this voice like she is literally being killed at that minute. Now, if I'm a policeman and I hear that and I'm 50 yards away, I'm coming in guns blazing.
Sure.
Now the problem is he wasn't doing anything.
He was literally standing there.
He was
filming it.
On the side,
just standing there with his phone.
He was upholding the law.
Been very, very, very bad. When they looked into her more, they realized that she voted for Obama. She was a liberal. She was anti-Trump, this, that, and the other. So this is the problem, is that right now, if that situation hadn't happened, she would be out marching saying Black Lives Matter and this, that, and the other. But this thing is so ingrained that she went to autopilot and immediately pulled out that fear of people of color and did something that could have cost that guy his life. And it was just...
Wow.
Yeah. And that for me is the issue. It's not that people are overtly racist. That's where the defense comes in. I'm not racist. You're talking about, I've got 3 black friends. I got my mate is. It's like people don't consciously believe they are, because a lot of them are not in their mindset.
Right.
But it's that sort of like, you know, when I was in the gym in South Africa and the guy was using a bench and I go, hey, you done with the bench? He's like, yeah, man, I'm done. Just move my weights over there and, you know, put my towel in the towel.
Yeah, South African one. Yeah.
And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to, man?
Yeah.
I'm like, who are you talking to?
How did you find it over there, man? Because like,
sorry. I said, yeah, you're sorry now because you heard that I'm not African, but
that's the thing. I saw that divide, man. I saw the people that disrespected people of color who are from Africa or who are from a different class, and then how they treat someone differently of color from like the UK or America. Like it's a weird, odd like shift in their behavior. Yeah. Did you find that? So that's obviously one case there, but did you notice that across the board? Like disrespect
over there, it happened a lot. But I kind of, that's why I never wanted to go there. You know, I never wanted to go there. Back in the days, I never wanted to go there, and I was really upset when we had to film there because because of the history. When I got there, I loved the land. I loved a lot of the people I met, but just seeing all that stuff is just upsetting, man. Really upsetting. Yeah. Disparity, and people don't do anything much like here because it doesn't affect them. Yeah, it doesn't affect them. So, like, you know, why would they? You know, people can empathize. Oh, I donate money, but I mean, it's not enough. But that's here. Like, this stuff happens here too, and you know, it just is what it is. A lot of people have been really shocked at some of the stuff I'm posting or have posted. Yeah. And I'm like, mate, that's just, people are like, this is outrageous. I can't believe you went through that on this day or that day. I'm like, mate, that's just a Wednesday. That's just a Wednesday for me. Yeah.
It's strange. That's just I have a friend whose sister went to South Africa, married a South African guy. They're from she's from Ireland. And my friend went over to visit and stuff, and he said that she sort of got inculcated into the dynamic of the culture.
Is her partner Afrikaans or
white Dutch? He's a white dude, yeah. And so they have staff landscaping their lawn. They have, you know, they have cheap staff in their house.
Oh, it's very cheap, yeah.
And it changed her. My friend said,
yeah.
It changed
my
changed
partner,
her attitude towards that class, that you know, everything that goes along with.
I mean, my partner Amanda, she was born in Zimbabwe and raised in South Africa, you know, but her parents were doctors, you know, and ambassadors and things like that. So she definitely has a very different perspective. But even that, like, she's talked about going back and taking the kids, and we both had to make a decision. Like, nah. Not now. Not yet. It's really, it's not on. You know, it's not safe. It's not.
Yeah, it's complicated.
100%
it's very
not.
complicated.
You know, and I didn't want to turn this into a beatdown of that city because we're talking about what really.
It's not that.
But
well, Cape Town has some amazing things to offer outside of the cultural issues that it clearly got. Yeah. Cape Town is an amazing place, but
I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't get past. You know, going into a restaurant by the waterfront and. It's not so bad anymore, but you still have 85 to 90% of the staff black and the management not, and the customers 100% or 99% white. Like me and Ashley walked into one place that was like a bougie place, you know, because we're actors, and it was one of the production dinners, you know, for producers, whatever. We walk in and people are like,
wow,
because they know we have to be someone.
Yeah.
The fact that we're not working and the fact we walked in, they didn't have a clue who we were as actors, but the fact we were eating there and not working there, they knew we were something or someone. So it was a lot of kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when people talk about America, because you guys worked in America, England, you've worked all over the world, you know, and you're all, hopefully, we're all aware. I mean, the overt racial divide in Africa as opposed to overt that you find in America and the UK. UK, I've always originally would say that it was more classist than racist, but then I realized that's a stupid statement because classism and racism are 100% intertwined.
Yeah.
You know?
I suppose over here it's been the monarch, hasn't it? It's always been.
And Ireland as well.
And, you know, there, but for the grace of God, go you. Therefore, if you were born poor, that's what God meant for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And that's how the sort of tiers of class got so deeply established in this country. And it's funny, as an Irish person coming over to the UK and seeing how ingrained class is here, you know, and how people behave and sort of take on the airs of whatever class they either are or aspiring to be.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this in our live about, particularly in London, I think it's really evident.
You know, a friend of mine went to drama school. He's from Liverpool, and he came down to London for drama school, and he said by the end of it, all the provincial people all spoke like the Queen.
Yeah.
By the end of drama school. Yeah. They're all speaking like they're in Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, it was really forced
because that's
upon
what they want.
Yeah.
That's what
at least they can be in Pride and Prejudice. That's the point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we can't even be in it.
Yeah. When we went to drama school, like I remember it was the opposite by the time we went. Everyone was like, hold on to your accent. That's going to be your calling card. That's going to be the thing that's going to get you jobs now.
Yeah, good.
Whereas once upon a time, like you say, it was all like, get rid of that.
Yeah.
No one's working with that accent.
Yeah.
Leave that to Dick Van Dyke. He'll come over and do it.
Best Cockney accent ever.
Chimney, Mary Poppins.
Maybe only bested by Jared Butler's Irish accent in P.S. I Love You.
Oh,
bad.
Sorry,
That
Jerry.
was bad.
Sorry, but he has since apologized.
Tell you what, Russell Crowe's in the Robin Hood movie he was doing a Nottingham accent.
Really?
Yeah, and he got it was Nottingham's a tough one to get. Though.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like, if you're going to go for it.
You're not far.
I'm not far from that. Yeah, Leicestershire.
Yeah.
They sound pretty similar.
Are there markable differences in terms
kind of not really. I mean, one's probably, I think Nottingham is slightly stronger on the northern side. But it's more like who do you know like Jack O'Connell?
Yeah.
So Jack O'Connell's like Derby. So he's more like Nottingham, Derby, like that. Like that. And proper Leicester, if you like, from right around where I'm from, like they're all like that.
Lauren Socka, who started with me in Misfits, and her brother Michael, they're two brilliant actors.
They're from Derby, right?
Yeah, they're from Derby. Proper accents.
Yeah, she's very Derby.
I'd never heard that accent before.
That's a very strong Derby accent.
Yeah.
Oh, hilarious.
It's good though. It's like Ireland, you know. I think because in Ireland, pre-Christianity, the country wasn't, consolidated like it sort of is today. Yeah. But so there was different landings, different chieftains, different kings.
It definitely is interesting.
Cultures,
we have so many different accents considering the country's not that big.
Yeah. And it's so dramatically different as well.
Yeah, dramatically.
And actually, it pertains to the cultural issue, I think, where we are, because Ireland, that thing, you drive 40 miles down the road and you start to hear a very, very different accent because you've gone past a boundary that doesn't exist anymore,
Yeah.
And
a village, yeah.
And I think in the US, there's still a very recent memory of segregation written in the laws. All of that is very, very recent in the cultural memory. It's a sort of toxicity, I think, which, you'd like to hope that time will help to kind of just to soothe that sort of rain. Because, like Australia, they call the way the Aboriginals were treated in Australia the country's great original sin.
100%.
And that kind of toxifies everything good that the country tries to do, because it has...
but it was a sin though, wasn't it? It was a sin though.
It was, exactly. It was a real... Basically going, oh no, there are no people here. They're just plants and animals. Yeah. And they only reclassified the Aboriginal natives as human in 1966.
No.
Yeah. From plants and animals. Because it was a point of... The British Empire had a rule which, if a land is uninhabited, then it's fair game, But if there are people there, it's a different story. It's a different set of precedents.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they just got there and went, there are no people here. It's far enough away that we can get away with this lie,
Wow.
So
terrible, man. Terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't mind how different people speak. I just obviously wish that people were just it's just nicer in general to each other.
Yeah, I just wish that too, Noel. I really.
It's just so weird, man. Like, come on.
I think as well, what I've been thinking about, the forum upon which we've chosen to communicate as a species, has become the global community communicates on social media, mainly Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. And those platforms, they're incentivized to get us to communicate, but they're also incentivized to get us to fight.
Absolutely, because people can get away with saying stuff that they would never say to your face. 100%. They can hide behind their profile.
They want altercation. It drives traffic on their platforms. It drives ad revenue. And can we trust a forum that is financially incentivized by conflict?
Yeah.
Can we create a social media that is more sacred?
Well, I think that's down to, as a collective, it's everyone having the same aim, right? With all that stuff, it's like you say, it's about and also Instagram having a responsibility to vet that crap.
Yeah, they have not done enough. None of those platforms have done enough to really help, all the people that have been targeted and harassed, and they've done enough, because it's a drain. It's a drain, on people's when people are on another person, it affects that other person. You know what I mean? And
I think that's why 100% Instagram and social media is just freaking bizarre. I don't really pay attention to it that much.
Yeah, me neither.
But the thing that I do like is that from this instant opinion has come this long format of this thing. I think one of the reasons why we're doing the Earth Locker is because we can actually have long form conversations, not just little 5-minute sound bites like a regular news channel. Like you would have be on the air for 5 minutes and you'd be gone. Yeah. You know, they'd interview you for an hour, they'd taper it down to 2 minutes of sound bites, and that's it, just like the social media.
And also just
and like podcasting allows to
have a nuanced chat.
Pull that shit out.
Because on the platforms, just like a tabloid newspaper, they're telling your brain to prioritize all these different things all at once. And I think social media is excellent for memes and for funny stuff. But for nuanced subjects, you know, like the murdering of George Floyd and racism and institutional racism, this is the wrong platform to be having those conversations on, because you can't be nuanced. You can't there's no context to your statement. It's just inside a box being separated from everything else.
Also, sometimes it's not even factual. People just say what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Opinions,
there's a real cancel culture now where someone can go, you know, I could go on right now and be like, Tom Hopper is this. And you guarantee there's about 5% of my audience that believe it immediately because I've said it, regardless of whether it's true or not. And I'm like, Robbie is this. And people will just believe it. And next thing you know, you're minding your own business. Bing, bing, bing. You're like, what the hell's going on? And people are attacking you because somebody said X about you. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, it's amazing how many people like actually get huge followings from doing that. And there's no fact to some of the stuff that they're saying. No, I find it with diet stuff all the time, like nutritional stuff, and they're like claiming all these different things, and they've got all these followers, and they say you should do this and do this and do that. And I'm like, oh my god, this person has got like this amount of information, is claiming they've got this much, and you just get away with it, and it's not, you don't have to back it up with anything. And it's just so dangerous.
It is. And you know, at the start of the whole COVID thing,
and people will rile you up, you know, it's disgusting.
Yeah, massively.
I was going to say, have you found that this whole movement, sorry man,
no, please,
in this whole Black Lives Matter movement that's sprung upon us, have you found that, because you've obviously been very vocal, have you found how much sort of backlash have you had from being that vocal? Have you
had a lot of trolls against you?
I was going to say, have you had a lot of trolls and people that have
been loads.
That's man.
Loads. It's been. I wouldn't even say it's been enlightening because I didn't expect any less. I've always had it. Do you know what I mean? So
that's good. That's comforting to know, Noel. I've had some of it recently. I think because. I think because of the acceleration of fame and the announcement of the second series of Umbrella Academy, you start to come back into people's focus a little bit, and therefore into whatever they're wanting to kind of throw at you. And I just saw some stuff. It was like, and it did put sort of, it churned my stomach, and I thought, Rob, you're too old for this sort of reaction, Rob. But I'm a human being. And when you see all that stuff written down, what represented by what is perceived as a global community, that's the problem with social media. We assume that it reflects people, but it doesn't. I don't think it does. I think it encourages the lower, more negative part of our nature. Not always.
I mean, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have the spontaneous activism that's going on around Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, Rodney King, I was in LA during that time, during the LA riots. And it was not a nationwide, and it certainly wasn't a global outcry against what happened there. And the good side of social media is it allows everyone to be on touch, to organize, to say their piece. And if you're like-minded, come up and show up. There's definitely a lot of good things. We just need to harness the good and get rid of the bad, or ignore the bad, I guess.
I think the changes that can happen from the Black Lives Matter movement wouldn't be significant as they are going to be without social media. I think that
it's powering, it's fueling it.
100%.
It's the way.
But I think the companies still need to do more about. Look, no one's trying to take away freedom of speech, right? There's people, I don't like what they're saying, I just block them, or I don't want to see it, whatever like that. It's supposed to be my experience, my page, or whatever. And we don't want to take away freedom of speech, but they need to do more against crimes and people that are committing crimes and saying criminal things and inciting criminal things. And these companies just don't do that. They sit back. Well, they're starting to now more, but they just sit back and collect their money and then don't pay tax. You know, it's a joke.
It's an interesting line. You know, it's a separate discussion, probably all its own. But where do you start to criminalize language online? You know, that's a language. That's a freedom of speech.
And when
not if you're threatening. If you're threatening people.
Because also there's there's one thing that I think is not talked about enough about social media and what people say to people on social media is that if you take an assault, a physical assault, right, you're actually physically harming someone. That's seen as a crime. What we're not looking at is the mental attack on people's mental health from these attacks. I feel that should be seen as an assault. Because it's affecting people chronically in a very, very bad way. These people can say something,
100%.
and then they carry it for days.
That exactly.
Like the pop star that had a lot of problems with that, and
do you mean Caroline Flack, the TV presenter?
Well, that's
definitely one taking her life.
Again, as a result of, I suppose,
that was sad, bro.
Deeply
I only met her once, I think. Like I didn't know her. You know, it's one of those ones where it's like Robbie, Tom, you're an actor, and that person's on TV, so you see each other and you kind of nod from afar. Like and I met her one time at a thing, but that kind of hit me, man. I was like, whoa, because she was young, man.
She was young, and that proves that type of incendiary stuff online is assault, because it incites I mean, she was, I can't conjecture on her state of mind, but she was probably in a really, really, really desperately dark place. Because all these people are, I think it's about
just hammering her,
taking power. I think a lot with trolling is a lot about taking power, and about influencing people's lives beyond your bedroom.
You know what the irony of it is the people that do it are the ones with the deepest set issues.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the ones with the real issues.
And if you are trolled, I think it's a good practice to look at it and go, this person is using threatening language, is using very, very rigid language around exactly why this is shit and you're shit. And that rigidity in the language represents the rigidity within emotionally, and then for a lack of emotional intelligence, unfortunately, and perhaps, they may need to have a look at that.
Yeah, you would say that about any bully, really. I mean, if you look at the fundamentals of people who are bullies, usually they're the ones with the much deeper issues and the insecurities, really.
Did you guys get bullied as kids?
Yeah.
A little bit,
I got a lot of that.
Yeah. Did you?
I was a fat kid. I mean, I'm kind of I'm a dad bod now, but quite proud of it. But
I've always known you as that sort of barrel-chested shape.
I have a distinct memory of getting bullied in the playground and playing a wonderfully entitled "Smear the Queer." It's on the basketball court, and you have the basketball and you get tackled to the ground. How incredibly un-PC was this game we played as children. And I remember once, because I was so fat, the kids said, "Oh, we're just going to keep you on the ground and roll you across the playground." And I was just crying the whole time. It was quite traumatic. And then when I got bigger and I realized that I can actually lean in with all that weight and I can defend myself.
Yeah, it's usually what happens, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we're animals. We get pushed hard enough, we'll fight back.
I just never had the weight behind the fist. I never did that.
I remember seeing at school there was this kid, right, who was again like a fat kid, geeky kid, and was getting bullied relentlessly, right, by this group of like other lads, but all just like trim lads, like the sporty boys, and consistently bullied. And then one day, this kid turned around and grabbed like the guy that was giving the most jip, and he picked him up. Like, literally picked him up and then just slammed him on the ground like a body slam. It was like WWE shit. And everyone went, "Oh!" And then all the guy's mates just went, "Oh, shit." And like, put immediately. So you get pushed hard enough. Yeah, and then no one touched him again. In fact, he actually got a reputation for being one of the hardest kids in school after that.
Yeah.
Oh,
because he was massive. He was a big guy.
which keeps keeps the verbal abusers at bay.
Yeah,
that's what they respect.
What do we do to move forward as people, as humans, as Earthlings? You know, like to keep the Black Lives Matters movement going, important. To keep people eating better. You know, food racism. You know, like in your guys' industry. You know, my industry is the bar industry. We just started a whole big dialogue about racism in the hospitality right now in London, which is for real. You know, how do we make sure that this doesn't just become, I guess, like you kind of said, it'll pass. I don't want it to pass. You know,
just pass over. Yeah.
How do we make sure this doesn't pass?
Keep speaking out. Do what you guys are doing. Educate people. I mean, I think a lot of people I've spoken to in the last week that at first still were like defensive about what I had said or whatever.
Yeah.
I then had conversations, and they were like, well, we need to get on a call, and agents got involved. I'm like, cool, I'm not getting on a call. I need to Zoom you because I need to see you, right? Once it was really laid out in front of them, I think people started to see. And I would like to think that I've changed a lot of people's views, you know, not just on Twitter or whatever like that, but the people that I directly spoke to and said, well, you made this choice and here's why you made that choice. And then, no. Well, you tell me why you made that choice. Well, because, yeah, you know, and I think a lot of people have changed their views in the last couple of weeks. And I think that's all you can do is educate people to make sure things like this, you know, forget me, but that and the bigger issues just don't keep happening, because there's no easy way. People get defensive. When you tell someone they're this or they're that, no, I'm not. It's a defensive human reaction.
But the thing is, they can't argue that. The way I see it, when people get defensive about that, is like if they're, because people are judged on their actions. It's not like saying you are fundamentally this. I'm saying the thing that you did is this. I'm not saying you are this. I'm saying that the way you acted in that moment.
Yeah, but sometimes people just don't see it, bro. Like, you know, an immediate reaction was, well, this is probably only coming up now because his series is coming out in America and he wants more publicity. I'm like, mate,
come on.
Who do you think I am? Like, I've never done stuff like that. I'm never going to do that. And actually, you need to check your response. And instead of going, well, hold on, but it must be because it must. You need to check your response, think about what you did, and own it.
That's the frustrating thing about people I see. And I mean, firsthand, I come across people doing this, and they're saying, yeah, but George Floyd was this and George Floyd was that. He did this and he did that. And
not the point.
It's like you're missing the whole picture. If that's your argument to this whole thing, and that's why you think that this movement shouldn't be happening, then you need educating more than anyone.
And also, you know, psychological theories that help people to out of, you know, chronic agoraphobia, you know, chronic anxiety, all those things like CBT, we were talking about that earlier, it all start out in the basis that you are not defined by your actions. You're defined by the fact that you are intrinsically a human being who's alive, who has as much right to be alive as every other human being, and we should never, ever, ever go through life defining each other by our actions, because we are all, as you said, we're animals. If we're pushed hard enough, you know,
you can have a response.
Exactly, you justifiably you're going to have a response. And I think you know, I don't think we have a particularly draconian justice system. I don't think our, you know, I don't know. I don't know, but I just wonder how much that philosophy permeates our judicial system. You know,
well, the thing is, we have to. The thing is, it was like we say again, we're animals, right? But we are the only animal on the planet that asks why. So we need to start going, why? Why is this? Why is this that? Why is that happening? And also look at why things changed in the past, how and why. If we start asking questions, because people are too scared of change, so they don't want to ask why.
Because they think that, for example, you know, it's really interesting. You know, people think that wanting equality is taking from other people. And it's like, it's not that. I put something out the other day and I'm like saying, you know, wanting to be equal doesn't mean people want to take what you have. It just means they want an equal opportunity to achieve it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly
nobody wants to take anything from anyone.
I think that's
an equal opportunity to achieve it. And I think if people can get past that whole thing of, well, hold on a second, they're taking our jobs and they're taking our thing. And if I start, if more people come in here, then I might, that's the problem.
Yeah. One thing, because we talked about this before, Rob, as well, about especially in our industry and particularly in other industries as well, but to create that diversity, there's probably like a bit of a because you've had such a delay in your start, I suppose, in terms of the ethnic minorities are struggling to get the education to get to where they need to be, where others have gotten before them.
Yeah,
there's a backlog, right, of like having to educate so these people can get into those positions and really fly at them.
Yeah,
how much of that is weighed up in where we're at now and going, rather than just going, because you know no one wants handouts here, right? So everyone's got to earn their way, and you want equal opportunity. Yeah. So how long are we talking here to actually create this equality, this true equality?
It has to be. I think for a while, and this is where people will get annoyed. A lot of people may get annoyed. I think for a while there has to be quotas, and there has to be stuff that is enforced just until it's more of a level playing field.
Yeah.
Because I put out a poem the other day, because I'm not a poet, but I was so like, I had to put this thing out.
You are a poet. Well, you wrote a poem. That makes you a poet now.
Yeah, oh yeah,
it's official.
And I put this thing out the other day, and one of the lines was like, we're running a 400-meter race, but you have a 300-meter head start. Yeah. It's like we can never catch up unless there is the other people stop for a while, or the other people
certainly slowed. Yeah,
are stopped, and we are allowed to at least get another 100 meters. Yeah. And this is, that's the thing that people won't like. But I think for a while there might have to be.
Yeah, there needs to be initiatives.
Quotas. Wouldn't it be kind of a recall? Because I mean, you think of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and that was a civil rights movement, and that was decades of struggle to get rid of the Jim Crow laws. Yeah. And then right after that, you had the Black Panthers, which was a direct response to the police violence in Oakland.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's pushing 30, 40 years, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had the quota system from the civil rights movement ending the Jim Crow laws, but the inherent institutional violence against people of color is something that started right then in 1976, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of going on from there. So,
and the arguments are strong for people that don't want to listen to stats, because the arguments are strong. And when they go, yeah, but how much crime do young black men commit, and how much crime did this, that, and the other in UK and America? And you go, well, okay. Like, the arguments can be strong, but then you have to go and look at the socioeconomic status of people that do these things. And it's like, when you're so poor and you're shoved in these neighborhoods where there's no healthy food, and you don't have any opportunities, then you're going to commit. You don't
think you have any opportunities, because all the culture and the class around you says this is what you do.
Yeah, there's no way out.
Like you were saying, you got to be the rap star, you got to be the actor. You can't be the producer. You can't be the lawyer. You can't be the executive.
You're not taught that. Yeah. That's right, because you're not taught that, and therein lies the issue. Because when those people do argue, but look at the crime and look at this, it's like, but, and then they go, but look, you're saying but, and it's like, I know I am, but. Because of the people don't want to listen to that, and then it's just a circle, man.
It really is, yeah.
I think we definitely need to get to a point where it's just legislation for sure. There's laws that have to be changed, checks and balances, but there's also a kind of a raising of the consciousness of society. People stop being defensive, people being a little bit more loving, getting really super Buddhist on things, and seeing the oneness. Literally is just pigment in the skin that's dividing us right now. This is ridiculous. We are all the same people, and not to get too wishy-washy, because I've come from LA, I hear a lot of that. You do as well, like, oh, I'm not racist. It's like, but, are you? Because there's just not this, you got to lower those boundaries. I think this particular Black Lives Matter movement has been really good at having people kind of lower their defensive-ness. Like, okay, just accept. And just accepting should get us to the next level.
Look in the mirror, I mean, I think that's the first thing that everyone should be doing, is going, okay, what have I done? How have I acted? And just seeing if, because even all of us who really feel that we're truly not racist, like, and believe by our actions that we're truly not racist, but still look at things that we've done and going, Oh, maybe I could.
And reach out to people. Reach out to people and ask questions. Like recently, J.K. Rowling said something against trans people.
Yeah.
There's been a big hullabaloo about it, and then Daniel Radcliffe was on the opposite side, and I was kind of like reading her stuff and like, well, I don't fully agree with what she's saying, but I don't really understand, because some of her points, I'm like, I don't really get it. So I reached out to some. I reached out to a trans person I know, and I was like, listen, the title of my email was like, educate me. And I said, look, I'm kind of standing with you against what was said here, because from what I understand, it's this, and I don't agree with that. But some of it I don't get. Can you, I don't mean to be ignorant, but can you tell me why it's so abhorrent to you?
Yeah.
And they probably loved that, I guess, because...
Well, I've seen the email come back while I've been talking to you, so I'll read it afterwards. But it's completely like, you know, like when you reached out to me, Tom, you know, on the Black Lives Matter stuff, you know, and then we had our discussion. You've always been good, and you've always been, as far as I can see, not racist, but you still were like, well, you know, talk to me.
Yeah, because, you know, I have questions, and like, even though I think I understand it, I probably don't.
And also, we're so from a culture, you know, like I'm from rural Ireland. There was one or two black people in my town growing up, you know. That was the kind of, and it was interesting. We were talking to lovely Emma Dabbery, who's Irish woman, author, academic. She grew up in Ireland, and she's mixed. She's Nigerian and Irish parentage.
Yeah,
and you know, she's a bit older than me, and culturally, Africa to Irish people growing up, were seen on the fronts of charity boxes. You know, that was and on television, donate money. So there was you know, looking back at it, and actually it was an interesting chat with her, because really your entire sort of perception of a continent as a child in Ireland is just, they're all poor and they're all dying.
Yeah,
you know?
it's very interesting.
And Emma was saying, as a kid, she was saying to her friends in school, you know, I don't think the black babies need your pennies, because, you know, my grandparents had a chauffeur, and, you know, they have money, they don't need your change. Like, and she got taken out of class and told, stop lying, right?
Yeah.
Stop, you're only causing nonsense, right? Get back in there and be grateful that you're in there. Or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And it really made me sad, because I had a fairly event-free childhood. I had a very peaceful childhood. You know what I mean?
Actually, you want to watch somebody who has Emma, the way she deals with her trolls. She wrote a book called "Don't Touch My Hair." You should definitely look her up, Noel.
Okay,
she has
Emma Dabbery.
Right.
Yeah. And she has so much time dealing with trolls online. She freaking takes people to class.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's so good to read her responses. It's like, she's so good.
Yeah.
You know, if there's one function of the snarling mob, you know what I mean? It's to kind of promote the light of sense and rationale in this madness. You know, I think you're an emissary of that, Noel.
Yeah. And I think 100% everyone just needs to stop passively sitting, being in the background. We all need to just get out of our comfort zone. Say it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to change. Let's keep this thing going.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel like emissary. All I want to do is work with people I like and look after my kids and my you know what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to do. I want the world to be better for them.
Yeah. Amen.
Well, you said it, bud.
The next time we boogie in a club, Noel, I hope the club is real and that.
And you'll get to admire his glutes.
We're not social distancing. Yeah, I'm getting right up behind there.
Get right in there. It's a treat.
Don't forget about the Me Too movement, guys.
All that,
okay, come on.
All that bulletproof training.
Yeah.
100%.
Listen,
right,
bud,
guys.
Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, man.
It was amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure,
Cheers, man. We'll talk to you soon.
What you guys are doing.
Thanks.
All right, brother.
Noel. See you soon.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
All the best. Oh,
there he is.
And he's literally just popped off there. I thought we'd have done the cosmetic goodbye.
See you later. Oh, actually, bye.
So anyway, Noel,
We're kind of tying off camera.
the mystery of podcasting.
We're still figuring out how
Sometimes
this
they
works.
stay, sometimes they don't. We've had, remember Bobby Maximus? We ended up having another 45-minute conversation after we finished this one. I was like, we should still be recording, surely.
Yeah. We didn't record any of that, did we?
Well, that was amazing.
That was
great.
lovely.
I'm going to say you guys were going on about everything you've done with Noel, and I must admit that I have done nothing with Noel. I've not seen any of his films. I might have seen him in Doctor Who. I don't remember.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You know, I've definitely seen him things, but not conscious of him as an actor.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's great, and he's great to work with phenomenal. As well. Like he's a very, very generous actor.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's good mates with Duncan Jones, who directed Mute, and he's been in a couple of Duncan's things, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Over the years, Duncan brings him back.
He's very loyal, Noel. Like he's very loyal to producers and directors, and you know he's great. He's a great sort of ambassador for the British film and TV industry.
Incredibly proactive, dude.
Oh my god, yeah.
Wait, you know, like when throughout my 20s, I was quite work obsessed. I think I used to chapter my life based on jobs, you know, which which I've quite kind of naturally stopped doing, not consciously, but just sort of. You know, I suppose I've tuned the bow to a slightly different.
That's interesting that we both done
different note,
because mine was because of children that I stopped doing it through jobs. But it's interesting that you did it and you haven't got kids, that you decided to do the same thing.
Yeah, because it ultimately you narrativize your history. Yeah, everybody narrativizes their history, and they create milestones, and it's up to you what those milestones are, and it's quite telling, I think, what those milestones are. And for me, I couldn't have really envisioned doing what Noel did when he was young. He wrote, starred in, directed, produced Adulthood, became this producer, financing films. You can't imagine how complicated financial structures of independent films are. I mean, it's head spinning, some of the stuff. But Noel just got right into all of it, and I just really respect his proactivity.
Pure ambition and acting on that ambition.
Yeah, really, you know, he's an inspiring dude.
I need a wee.
Do you want a candle in an egg cup?
You see me fidgeting, I'm doing this. I do this when I need a wee. Yeah. It's like getting my... It's working.
Should we see if we get a sponsor for adult diapers? That way
it'll be great. I can just say it. Sorry lads. Just 1 minute.
It's what? And that could be the actual... And that could be the actual commercial for I'm just using it now.
All three of us just going...
Either that or we've got catheters down and we bring our bags up.
Do you know, in China, migrant workers, there's about 100 million of them on average, and they travel vast distances to the coast where all the manufacturing and stuff happens, and a lot of them wear adult diapers.
Really?
A lot of them do.
Did you read this?
Because it was just this dream I had once.
Making me, I'd really need to get the diapers up.
Look, don't question me on my sources. I can't remember. This might have been a dream, but like everything I say on this podcast, like everything I say on this podcast, it could have been something I fabricated. So please go and validate any stuff I spout as fact. But apparently there was a huge, there was a story, a news story, because there was a huge spike in sales of new adult diapers in China because of the commute to work, man. Like it's days on a train, and the trains are wedged.
Yeah.
So there's no way to get from one end of a carriage to another. You just sit there and shit yourself.
God, what a crazy world we live in.
It is, yeah. It's funny, we live in about 1 million different worlds.
Yeah.
1 billion different worlds. I had this brilliant theory, right? You ready for this? Again, here we go. Factoid. That in quantum mechanics, right? Subatomic particles, right, which they call qubits in the computer connotation, basically little tiny subatomic particles. They kind of appear and disappear into our reality, and they essentially define the mathematics that we use in order to understand the universe around us. There was a guy called Schrodinger who came up with a mathematical theory, which was kind of based on this odd, sort of surreal setup where there was a particle that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so they just did the maths, and they're like, our job is to do the math and not worry about why it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? And then
that's part of the quantum physics.
Yeah. And only recently have they been starting
not the woo-woo quantum whatever, like the actual
quantum mechanics, the reason we have bridges, the reason we have computers, all that stuff. And we're about to have way more powerful computers with quantum computers, which is mind-bending, the stuff that they can do. But the little qubits appear and disappear out of our reality somewhat arbitrarily when they're being scientifically observed and so on. My theory is this, that those subatomic particles appear perhaps in Byron or Tom's reality, in your world that you're creating subjectively, and reappear in mine, you know? That there's perhaps they occupy the same space in that scientific laboratory, but it goes and reappears in Tom's reality in that same space.
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
It's like you have a potential space around you that you're creating all the time in terms of that's a tree. But quantum mechanics tells us that everything is a probability of a wave or a particle, and sensorially we kind of construct our universe around us based on.
I mean that's what like Dr. Momo was talking about with DNA. You know, DNA we thought was the beginning and end of everything. Every cell in our body has the same DNA. Yeah. Why does the cell in my knee know that it's going to be a ligament in my knee and not a heart tissue? Like, what is telling it to do what in the body? We don't know.
Jesus?
It's a hamster in the big wheel in the galaxy that is God. Yes. Running away.
It's quite something. And quantum computers, you know, a good computer today can process, meaning it can try to do something at a very high rate. Yeah. Whereas quantum computers can take a problem and solve it 2,000 times in exactly the same moment. So they can essentially it's called quantum pairing. So they take two qubits and they quantum pair them, meaning that if you put either qubit at either end of the universe, and I know I'm using the wrong lingo, and I know you're sitting at home smug going, yeah, but you're not using the right words. But you put at the either end of the galaxy and they will mirror each other's movement exactly, irrespective of the distance between them.
How?
Good question.
All right, look, Jesus. And the trolls out what they're watching this right now, put your wacky tobacco down and tell us who we should talk to inform us about these little qubits.
And then pick it up again in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just fascinating. And like there's a great there's an online series of a channel I think on YouTube called Pindex, and Stephen Fry does the narration for these videos, and I became a sponsor of them via Patreon. So I was getting these videos and they're like, oh, what do you think of this one? What do you think of this one? And the one about quantum computers is absolutely mind-blowing. It truly is. And when they pair quantum computers with Alpha 1 or Alpha 0 as it now is, which is it's the most intelligent AI on the planet.
Yeah.
When they give that the power of quantum computing, we have absolutely no idea the limits of what they can do.
It receives consciousness and it asks you out on a date.
Like, oh,
want to have a drink?
Yeah. But it's quite awkward to kind of just mirror the awkwardness of human beings.
You know, eventually, like, what they're saying now, I mean, you might already know this, but in terms of like our augmented realities, obviously everything's in like a cell phone now, right? Well, what will eventually be is, and this is like the near future, that eventually this is all the stuff that Elon Musk is going on about, but it's going to be chips in our brains that we'll be able to just think.
Access the internet.
Yeah. And just think about it. We won't need that. Yeah. We won't need this anymore. That'll be obsolete.
The only problem is they're too slow at the moment. Yeah. That's the only problem. They said they can do it.
They can put it in.
It's just bandwidth.
Crazy. Well, I would also put in mind EMFs and what that all means.
True.
Which I'm trying to get somebody on to talk about.
Well, that's a good point, because I
don't want a damn thing in my head if it's going to make me kookly.
We have these lovely earth and stone orgons. These are on the marketplace and stuff. Here's a little prototype. Look, I don't know if you can see that, Chris.
We are going to be providing these for you people.
The Earth Locker.
Because we want you to be safe from EMF energy, so we've decided to get these made.
And if we all go down the road of Elon, we're all sticking Google chips in our brains, they're going to be surely emitting quite a powerful magnetic frequency. I mean, when you plug your laptop into the mains, it starts to emit a very, very powerful, very, very strong wave. And we don't really know what those waves do.
Which is why you should always turn your phone off at night, kids.
Yeah,
for sure.
Turn your phone off when you plug it in.
I don't know if these things are beautiful, which is why I really like them. Yeah. And I think they might do some good. I'm not sure. we'll have to investigate this.
Actually, let's get one of them magnet. My friend has one of them magnetometers.
Yeah, it will actually show you. You've got a great video actually, which we post on our Instagram, so you can see it.
Yeah.
And when you put this in front of the electromagnetic field.
Yeah, that's been plugged into laptops.
So it would literally the what's it called? The thing that
I think it's a magnetometer.
Magnetometer. So that would be going off the scale and going. Unless you put this in front of it and it blocks it and it stabilizes it.
Yeah.
And that's what's coming into your body, into your
brain. And we have absolutely no idea what it's doing to us.
No.
But next chapter on the Earth Locker.
Turning us into squid people.
Oh. I was wondering why I had extra legs.
Be like,
where did they come from?
It'd be like Rick and Morty. We'll just suddenly
damn EMF.
Yeah, enough for waves. We'll just go. We'll just turn into giant lobster people. With any luck. Do you know what my mate texted me a couple of days ago going, I'm writing doesn't matter really. I'm writing a heist movie for Warner's, right? He said. And I went, good luck, mate. I said,
how supportive of you, Rob?
Yeah, I said, after that Rick and Morty episode, you've got a tough job on your hands.
I haven't seen that.
Did you see that? There's one where they rip the piss out of all heist movies.
Any heist movie.
And you basically explain why they're all exactly the same.
Well, they are, really.
Yeah, they are. They're the same movie over and over again. It's the acquiring of the crew. You son of a bitch, I'm in. It's like a great episode. But it's hard, like when someone like sort of comes out and undermines ultimately what that trick was, because... Yeah. Everybody enjoyed the Ocean's 11 and the remakes, I think, because everybody was wowed by the shockery of it.
Yeah.
But when you kind of know the layout, like Rick and Morty basically was like, this is kind of how they go. And then the whatever diamond that they're trying to steal has already been stolen before the heist took place. That's always like the big... So it's hard. It would be really hard to write a good heist.
That's why I'm quite critical of television and movies and stuff like that. Like I get so excited when I see something like, I've never seen that done before.
Yeah, it's hard to be original. There's been a lot of movies.
Have you guys seen the 4-part miniseries Normal People on the BBC?
No, Laura's watched it though. She said it's very good.
Really good.
I think it went pretty viral, right?
It went massive.
I think a lot of people...
In fact, here's a statistic I learned the other day. A little known show called Love Hate, which was an Irish show about gangsters.
Was it any good? Who was in it?
Well, there was this young show-off sort of fella, kind of drifted from talent shows into into comedy, into dance, into acting. No, I was in that show, and it was the biggest show in Ireland as seen on the digital player until Normal People.
What?
Normal People
knocked you off your throne.
Knocked us off our top spot. Which I'm like, yeah, go on, lads. Yeah. Because I'll tell you this, the two actors in it are sublime. They're young Irish. I've not seen them before, but I'm not a good test of these things because I
don't pay attention to popular culture.
Yeah, I don't see much stuff in that, but they're amazing actors, really incredible actors. Like, and it's just.
And I heard it's the chemistry between them as well, right? Like it's incredible chemistry.
And the writing is like, it's almost like something like Kids, where. I don't want to tell you, but it's just...
Yeah, no spoilers.
The conflict in it is something very real and something very unexpected. You go, fuck, I still do that to some degree. You know what I mean? It's a really, really nice piece of telly where I thought, that's been handled in a way, a relationship has been handled in a way I haven't seen before.
Interesting.
And that's rare. It's very rare.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to be original and hard to like kind of provoke thinking like that. And really make an impact. It's not easy to do.
Well, I must say about relationships, if people like the relationship that we have here in the Earth Locker, please like and subscribe and leave a review and reach out to us and touch us and share it with a friend. Do all that kind of stuff.
Leave suggestions for us. Like as soon as you like and subscribe as well, you become you get a video of the three of us mud wrestling.
Nice. That's actually true. We did it.
True.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to say, us getting up and using the lavatory or answering the doorbell, I'm kind of inclined to leave that on here because it's real.
Yeah.
This is like, this isn't overly produced. I mean, it's produced quite well, I must say.
And also it's edited down, so we're actually talking for a long time where just liquid is filling our bladders.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here, man.
You know, Bobby Maximus.
It's so much better.
Re-establishes our vibe.
Absolutely.
From the start, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you guys want to put a pin in it for today?
Let's put a pin.
Let's put a pin in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Listen, lads, the Earthlocker podcast is opinions of the host and of the guests, and it's not Bible, it's not fact, it's just a platform for sharing ideas, right?